Good morning and a very happy Monday. It's June 23rd. This is Wake Up with KERA News, and I'm Andrew Garcia. Hope you enjoyed the sunny weekend. There's plenty more sun in store for you today, with mostly clear skies and temps reaching the mid-90s today. DART has had a tumultuous few months, but we'll hear about what comes next after today's news. The governor has vetoed a bill to ban the sales of virtually all products containing THC. Houston Public Media's Andrew Schneider says Greg Abbott's calling a special legislative session next month, in part to deal with problems posed by the lack of regulation for THC consumables.
Governor Abbott waited until shortly before the midnight deadline to veto Senate Bill 3. He did not immediately issue an explanation for the veto, but he did announce a special session that will begin July 21st. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, the lead advocate for the ban, responded on social media by saying that Abbott had left the families who had seen their loved ones' lives destroyed by such products feeling abandoned. Abbott's veto leaves the state's multi-billion-dollar hemp industry intact for now. Patrick and others demanded the ban in large part because they alleged the industry was targeting minors. I'm Andrew Schneider in Houston.
The city of Dallas is short more than $36 million this budget cycle. That's due to declining property and sales tax revenue, as well as an expensive new police hiring mandate, which requires the city to hire about 900 new officers. The city's chief financial officer told the city council he's sure they can close the gap by August if they prioritize the most important programs, but didn't say what those could be. The past few months have been chaotic for Dallas area rapid transit, to say the least, after a group of North Texas lawmakers tried to push legislation that would have cut funding for the agency. Transit leaders, cities, and advocates are regrouping following the bitter fight. KERA's growth and infrastructure reporter Pablo Arauz-Pena has been covering the saga over DART funding since last year. He spoke with me about what could happen next.
It's obviously a relief for DART, but its leaders are trying to be forward-thinking. They want to work with all its member cities on a shared vision for the agency. The city of Plano, which really led the push for that legislation, still wants to see kind of a right sizing of its payment into the system. City manager Mark Israelson told me in an email that the city is disappointed the efforts to address DART reform stalled in the legislature, and that the city is going to consider all options in the coming months. So they're not ruling out leaving the system entirely. Meanwhile, Michael Morris, who leads the Regional Transportation Council, says regional leaders are still figuring out the next steps now that the session is over. He said it's been tense.
And then over the last 12 months, we witnessed a full blaze, horrible tone, horrible conversations, especially if you look at the history of our region on transportation over the last 4 decades. I've never witnessed anything like this.
He wants everyone to come to a consensus on where the future of transit is going. He's proposing a process that could eventually lead to compromise legislation in the next session that DART, member cities, and all regional entities can agree on.
Compromise legislation. So what's that going to look like?
That's not clear yet, but in March, the DART board passed a resolution that would return 5% of its funds to what they call donor cities like Irving, Carrollton, and Plano. Not as big as 25%, but would still include cuts to services like low-performing bus routes, GO-Link zones, and Trinity Railway Express service.
So what are riders saying about the proposed cuts?
The riders I've talked to are celebrating the legislation failing, but aren't too happy about these proposed service changes. DART is holding public hearings in different member cities to discuss route cuts and service changes, but each change would also require a process of meetings for them to actually go through. Randall Bryant, who represents Dallas on the DART board, told me he's looking forward to bringing all member cities to the table to work on what the future of DART could look like.
We just have to do a better job of communicating, what we're doing, where money is going, and what is the true value of transit beyond just moving people from point A to point B.
So it sounds like discussion about DART's funding isn't over just yet.
Not at all, and State Representative Matt Shaheen, who authored HB 3187, blamed DART's, quote, bloated marketing department for his bill's failure. He says he'll file legislation again next session if DART continues to overcharge cities.
I've also heard, I think in your previous reporting, that DART is going to play a huge role in the World Cup next year. Is that still happening?
Yeah, Andrew, that's still happening, and the region is going to need DART resources, including buses and trains along the Trinity Railway Express, to transport fans to and from AT&T Stadium in Arlington. It's one of the reasons why North Texas was picked as a host region for 9 games, more than any other North American city. Dallas will also be hosting the International Broadcast Center downtown and FanFest at Fair Park. Michael Morris at the Regional Transportation Council says if nothing at DART changes financially, then those plans should still go smoothly. But given the recent legislative battle, that could be a big if.
Well, thanks, Pablo.
Thanks, Andrew.
That was my conversation with KERA's Pablo Arauz-Pena. The Dallas Wings had a pretty strong showing this weekend, notching just their 3rd win of the season on Friday, beating the Connecticut Sun 86-83. Yesterday, after trailing late in the 4th quarter, the Wings pushed the Washington Mystics to overtime on the back of a Paige Bueckers' deep 3, but ultimately they could not get it done in overtime, losing a close one 91-88. Join Shakespeare Dallas and witness the tragedy of Othello at the Samuel Grand Amphitheater. You can find more information on that and some other fun things to do on our Go See DFW calendar at kera.org/calendar. Thanks so much for listening to Wake Up with KERA News. I'm your host, Andrew Garcia. The show is produced and edited by Shardae White and Bekah Morr. For more news in your inbox, visit kera.org/wakeup. That's where you can subscribe to the Wake Up with KERA News newsletter and get some good morning vibes from our colleague Catherine Hobbs. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at KERATX. Make it a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.